Good evening and welcome to The Real Study with your hosts, Mr. Snitbits,
Welcome back to A Real Study.
Black Girl Marvel,
But I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Mr. Marvelite,
not knowing anything about the film.
all the movie things,
And like I was locked in right away.
the pre-review with Super Gummy Guru,
Review.
and me, the Real Study movie voice guy. Let's go to the poster wall.
Good evening and welcome to The Real Study. My name is Mr. Snidbits, and to my left, as always, is Black Girl Marvel. And tonight, the whole crew is here. We also have Mr. Marvelite and all the movie things. And we are doing a Black History Month special where we will be covering all movies done by Black creators in order to do our part to at least highlight some films for this month. So, these movies are Training Day, The Best Man, and Us. And one of us, I'm not sure, did Mr. Marvelite cover Pure? I'm not sure.
No, I didn't. I didn't even know that was on the list.
I will be
I
doing
completely
a
missed that message.
very short review on Pure myself since I was able to watch that. So,
And I'll be doing one on my TikTok because I forgot about the movie. So I apologize.
it's all good. Let's move over to the drive-in and we can get started on our review. I know all the movie things was hyped to do Training Day. That was definitely one that was picked there. So let's start with you. What was your reasoning for Training Day, and let's get your initial impression the first time you saw it.
Oh man, it's Training Day. It's Denzel. It's Antoine Fuqua. I believe David Ayer wrote it also, and that's something I wanted to mention too. Was David Ayer has done so much great stuff, and that's why That's why Suicide Squad was extra hard to swallow, because he's done so much great stuff before. So, but I mean, Denzel, I believe Denzel won an Academy Award for this, and it's funny too because there's a lot of I think a lot of the impressions that people do of Denzel are based a lot on what what he does, because he does a lot of those little Denzel things in this film, and I just love it. I mean, the opening of the film is just iconic to me. I mean, with shots of his car and them driving down the road, to that song. It's just so good. Just take you back to 90s hip hop era. And it was just, I mean, and it's just, I don't know. Ethan Hawke is doing really great in it. There's just so many great things about it. I mean, I can't really pick out a bad thing in that whole film. So it's just one of my favorites. And I've watched this film multiple times, and on the first time I watched it, I was blown away. And it's just it's never gotten less satisfying as time's gone on for me. So it's one I can keep watching and always love.
Nice. I like that. Mr. Marvelite.
Okay, what can you say that would be even any possibly negative toward Denzel Washington and his performances?
Right.
The guy is he's the GOAT.
Mm-hmm.
I did like the fact I was sitting here watching, and of course, for people who are, let's say, or of the younger persuasion, Scott Glenn, who ended up being the patsy for the group, that is Styx from the Daredevil series on Netflix. But just his demeanor the whole time, seeing Ethan Hawke's character Jake just uncomfortable and pushed to his limits, and it's kind of one of those things where it's kind of you have to dull down your moral compass in order to get where you want to, but then at the same time, that is the exact thing you should not do. And this movie was meant to make you uncomfortable, and I loved every moment of it. And snippets, or no, I think Brian said, where a lot of Denzel Washington's his mannerisms and stuff that we're aware of are from this movie. I will say sometimes it's the worst stuff that people do. Denzel Washington's catchphrase in this film is one that a lot of people should not be repeating. And yet there are people that really should not be repeating this, that do their own parodies of that, and it's ridiculous. It's kind of the best and worst of memeing a movie. But I mean, the characters were great. Honestly, it wasn't until I just looked on IMDb that I realized that was Dr. Dre on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it just
Yeah.
like you
And
just
Snoop in there. I
didn't.
mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean Snoop. Like let's face
They both did a
Snoop and
really
the
great
Wheels.
job
Like
too.
oh
They
my
did.
word, like
Yeah.
yes, like they were just into it, and just the way that they kind of play their characters and how they were responsive, and I think the kind of the twist that saved Jake was a little bit like expected at some point, because you're like, okay, there's going to be a payoff for this at somewhere,
Mhm.
but it was still satisfying. Like there wasn't much that I didn't like about this film, other than it making me a little bit uncomfortable, which was the whole point of it.
Right.
Because you're supposed to be kind of in Ethan's place.
Mhm.
Lala, did I do a good job not explaining the whole movie?
Black Girl
Well,
Marvel,
honestly,
what is
yeah.
your take on Training Day? Was this your first, 10th? How many viewings? You are muted.
Forgot about that. Also, I'm proud of you, Mr. Marvel. I'm very
Thank
proud of
you,
you.
thank you.
You didn't hear that when I was muted. I was very proud of you. Um, Training Day is a film that stars Denzel Washington, Ethan Hawke. It came out in
Oh.
2001, directed by Antoine Fuqua. This film in particular, no, it's fine. That was my Mr. Marvelite impression. If nobody got it,
I think everybody got it.
I'm gonna keep doing it. I was 15 years old when this movie first came out. Don't giggle. All the movie things. And so no, Ray, we do appreciate when Mr. Marvelite explains the whole movie. We really do appreciate it. And I mean that sincerely. I can be a dick sometimes.
There's a
but
whole reason why I did it before, and now I would refuse to. So maybe one day I'll explain my reasoning, and then
one day maybe. But yeah, like I was saying, I was 15 years old when this movie first came out, and there are some things that like hit for me, and then some things that didn't, because I was just 15 years old, and like,
Right.
and
Yeah.
congratulations to my mother and my father to a certain degree. I lived a really good life, so there were things that I didn't understand. But then as I got older, I was like, this stuff makes sense. And watching it now, I was like, I remember this whole entire film. I remember start to finish, like scene by scene. I remember what's going to happen. Like I was calling things out, and that just like shows how my brain works. I thoroughly enjoy this film. Like everybody said, this is the film that Denzel Washington was like. This is the one that everybody mimics him the most. This is the one where his Denzellerisms.
I
Yeah.
like that.
oh,
Okay.
I like it.
Yeah.
Going U-turn.
Thank you. His Denzellerisms are on full display in this one. How he looks at people, how he looks shocked when he gets shot, like his type of humor, his anger, his slyness. There's lines from this movie that I actually say in real life that I'll never say in front of you guys because I love you. I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable, but yeah, I felt like I'm always a fan of when a film meets a great director, meets a great screenplay, meets a great actors all in their place, right?
Yep.
And I feel like it's one of those moments that you can really, really notice, and you can really see just by the quality that you see on screen. And Training Day for me is one of those films. It's like, it's a long movie, but it's not long. Like, it doesn't feel long. It feels like very short. It feels like there could be like another part to it, or maybe some stuff that we missed in between it. Like, I would love a prequel about what happened with the Russians. Because to me, that's just his hubris. They came back to bite him in the butt.
Yeah.
Twice,
I
actually.
think they killed John Wick's dog at some point later on.
Honestly,
Right.
if we can make a connection, I would love it. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I just think it's start to finish great. I think it's one of those films that like should be in a museum, admired, shown to kids, and just like, not like kids, because like that's heavy subject matter, but like, I mean kids in the older sense, like maybe in the teens, early, like later teens, college, things like that. Because I think from a movie standpoint, cinematography standpoint, directorial standpoint, you can learn a lot from this film. But then you can also learn the plight of people that aren't like you. I feel like it has a lot of themes, not just black and white, just like every person that you don't notice in your circle. Like if you're a black person that's never hung out with a Spanish speaking person, obviously black and white, but I feel like it could stretch even further if people broke it down more than just looking at the surface of it. But I'm a fan of the film. If you couldn't tell, I like it.
No, we really couldn't tell. Not
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll try better next time, like Mr. Marvel. I'll try.
fair. For myself, I've been watching Denzel. I think I remember him in Glory. We saw that in theaters as a family because my parents were adamant about that kind of history being taught in the house, which is good. Um, so he's been a powerhouse, in my opinion, since I can remember. So seeing him curve away from the good guy, which he typically has always played, even when he played a troubled character, such as in Glory, he was still a good human, a good person. He just was, he had a lot of crap in his life, understandably. So for this, it took me kind of aside, even just his initial, that scene in the diner where he immediately turns a dime on Ethan and basically goes, no, you fucked that up. You don't get that anymore. There's our one. I like that.
There'd be a lot in this movie.
Yeah, we kind of have to. Maybe we get two. No, but the approach to that character just immediately, I was like, this isn't going well. Already, this isn't going well. And this kid is so green and so new that he's just gonna. You could tell he's gonna get run through the ringer. It's just great because we didn't know what that ringer was until we got through the whole film. I'm pretty sure the reason Dre and Snoop are in the film is there was an agreement because they got to use Still Dre, I think, because this was 2001 and that song had just dropped. And so they were really stoked to kind of make this kind of both. They got to go both ways where they got the song and then they got to be in the movie, which they did do a great job. Like, I'm shocked sometimes. Like, Eminem also can act, and I'm surprised when people who I expect to do one thing do this other thing well. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but I do think it's a brilliant film. I think that looking back on it now, it does feel less shock value to me because we've seen so many films in the last 20 years like it or trying to be it on one way or in one way or another. I don't think we got the movie SWAT until after Training Day. I don't think we got other movies quite like that until after Training Day. So I think it kind of set the tone for the bad guy, in a sense, being the highlight in a lot of ways because it did so well with that. It was quite different. But anyway, that's my general take on it. The one scene that always sticks out to me is when he gets led to the Latino guy's house and left there for whatever they decide to do. Like, you can like, I don't know how he couldn't tell, because I could tell the first time I saw the movie that he shouldn't be walking up those steps, but he was anyway. How do you guys feel about that scene?
Yeah, definitely. It was almost like it was like there was always mention of what was in the trunk, but it was kind of like this idea of like when you realize it was just insurance. Whenever he needed to clean something up, he just took it there, and they were the ones that were cleaning it up. And for them, it was just business. So yeah, it was definitely interesting, and I think that was the interesting part about it because like you ended up hating the cops, you ended up hating Denzel's character, you hate the other individuals, but like even those guys, like as much as like they were on the wrong side of this dealing with Jake, they were still just doing what they were supposed to be doing, and they were part of the system that that this guy had put in place, and Jake was just breaking that up. Like, what was it? Denzel's character gave him the idea. Even that block where his woman was at, Jake walked through that unafraid, and it was only because of what he was told that he was supposed to fear that area, that block. And it's the same thing. What do you hear about? Like, you watch like Cops, or you watch like the real life crime things, and they say this is a block you don't want to get out and walk the streets on. This is this is, you drive through, so actually don't make eye contact. I've been through the inner city, and I remember like working with kids, and the kids that wanted to be tough, they always told me this is not where you pull out and do things. And I used to roll the windows and talk to people in the streets, and it would freak them out because I was breaking the facade that they had built up. And you realize that a lot of these boundaries were made by this guy narrating the story as he went along, and they didn't need to be there. So that's my
or by the police chiefs that we get to see at the table. Those people are doing all sorts of manipulation to the city itself, probably drawing
Yeah.
lines and pushing gangs to certain areas, undoubtedly. Yeah,
Because crime is business.
Yeah.
yes, it is.
But I will say, I think a lot of people miss the fact that, and I don't think he was lying. I think he was just telling the truth. And I just think because it's Denzel, everybody thinks that everything, because he set him up to die at the end or like towards the end or whatever. I think people forget that he made the comment to him like, I used to be just like you. Right? Like, so the Denzel Washington character used to be like Ethan Hawke's character, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, want to come out and save the world, but then realize that this area is just as corrupt as anything else. And so he kind of got corrupted by the area, right? And so getting corrupted by, it's kind of like when they say undercover cops are undercovers for too long and then they start living that life.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how his character did. So in a way, I felt bad for Denzel Washington's character because look how much power he has as the opposite side of what he panned out to be. And if only he had that type of strength as like the quote unquote good guy, there's no telling what change he could have made to the block where his son lives, where his girl lives, the rest of the world, because he had a lot of pull. And like, appreciate you guys. Blind Biggie.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Thank you for the gift subs.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir.
So like I kind of felt bad for his character, and like it's easy to not feel bad for him because of how just smarmy and snake like he is. Because if someone's against him, then it's like if someone doesn't do what he says, you die. Or if you're a piece that he can move, like his quote unquote friend that he went to get a drink with, supposedly they were really good friends. This guy never thought in his mind that he would do anything to him because they were good friends, and he set him up to die, stole his money to save himself. So it's one of those like eat or be eaten type of worlds, and like that's why I say it would be nice to see a prequel to see how Denzel's character became that.
Yeah.
Because if he was just like Jake, stopping every time he saw a girl attacked or doing certain things, what was a catalyst that made him flip a switch like that?
So Michael B. Jordan's going to play this role, right? We're going to get him to come in and take this on and see if he can pull the Denzel.
Or have his son play him.
Yep. I was just gonna say that. Yep.
or a whole new actor.
His son could totally do it.
Sure.
It's just really
Unknowns
good.
are also a great way to go.
But I do think John David Washington could
Yeah.
because I feel like O'Shea Jackson Jr. played his dad very well.
Mm-hmm.
Straight Outta Compton, I feel like John David could do the same thing.
Totally.
But I think John David wants to chart his own and be steady.
For sure.
And they touch on that relationship with Roger and Denzel's character because that the guy that he basically turns on at the end, that was his mentor. That was the guy who basically converted him when he was innocent like Jake. And it's kind of the dichotomy of like what is there a difference from being successful and being good? Because you can either be good or you can be successful, and you have to lose the good to be successful in this world. And it was just definitely that having to make that choice. And if you didn't make the choice, then there was always another narrative that could be used to take place, to take over from what you were doing, because you could just we tried to stop him, but he killed all these people, and now he's dead. We self-defense.
I struggle with sympathizing with the Alonzo character because of the way he has his relationship with his child. His child is a pawn just like everyone else, and that was when I gave up. I was like, this character can go to hell for all I care, because you basically just said that everything you've ever done was literally for your own selfish means, and that's fine. Even his lady, he literally just ditches her in a gunfight. Like, that's pretty uncool.
Well, I also almost wonder if that child was ever like really a part of his life. Like, that child was never even planned. Maybe they don't touch on that.
That child latched onto Jake way too quickly.
Oh yeah.
And you could tell that was the lack of a father figure that Jake was willing to sit there and watch cartoons, and they fell asleep together. And of course, Alonzo has no concern whatsoever about this white guy
That's
So yeah,
why I
he's not
say
sleeping
like
with his kid because
he never
he
wanted
had no
that
care about the
kid.
kid. Yep.
Yeah.
No, he just cares about getting what he can get from the mom.
Mm-hmm.
And also there's no telling who else the mom gets some from, because he was like, "Are you here to see my mom?" Which means that dudes probably walk all up and through that house.
Yeah.
She also might
Because
be
he act,
slanging dope in order to keep herself alive as well, and where she's at. So the
I feel
traffic
like
in the
she
house
don't.
could be for
Nah,
many
I feel
reasons.
like she ain't slinging dope. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
she doing something strange for some change is what I'm thinking she's doing.
That's fair.
I don't think she's selling dope. Look how
Man,
she's
put that
beautiful.
on a t-shirt.
That's some new real study merch coming for you guys.
Can we talk about the sheer star power of the secondary cast in this film? The entire supporting cast is just loaded with names, and it
Yeah.
didn't even his girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Every
Right.
side character, other than maybe like the two guys in the alley, which I don't think most people are going to throw their career under to be that really terrible rapist in a film. But even the guys that Denzel ditches him with. I know. Oh God, I think that guy's name is Hector. Um, the guy with the bald head. He was also in Bruce Almighty and quite a few other films. But that scene is exceptionally intimidating, and I think it's mostly due to one individual. Well, actually, I think the calmness of the main character with the mustache in that scene scares the crap out of me. But also,
I love him. I'm seeing him in so much stuff.
right, he's
Yeah.
great. He really
Yeah.
is great. But then Raymond Cruz, the guy that plays the shirtless guy, that's just insane.
Yeah.
Oh man, I just
Oh, he's got
I
a
know.
big rap sheet of of movies.
Yeah, no, he does. But he
Yeah.
in that movie just scares the living crap out of me. Oh, that's where so he was in like Under Siege and other played other military roles, and that's where I recognize him from. Alien Resurrection, as well.
Also, Macy Gray was in this, and I forgot she acted
Yeah,
for a while.
that's right.
I was like,
that scene was good
Macy!
too. Man,
Yeah.
she did a good job on that because, like, I mean, they built up. It was a shorter scene, but they built up the tension in that one pretty good because it's like she's not buying this, and you're taking too long to
No,
do
she's
whatever
not.
you're doing. She's like,
Yep.
man, something's gonna go down, and then
Especially
like,
especially with
stop.
Jake being there and being so green, and he's like,
Yeah, and she could like feel it. She could sense it. Like,
Yeah.
damn.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
man.
Everybody could sense he was green. That's what was bad
Oh,
about
yeah,
him. Like
man, it's so.
everywhere he went, people were like, "Are you a cop?" Like,
Well, it's like
Yeah.
they can smell fear, and that, and they could just smell that rookiness in him, and man,
And they never once
so good.
visited
It
the
was his
precinct.
eyes.
Like never once.
Yeah, no, the office was
Yep.
his car. Like, yeah, I
Yep.
love that.
Which I
What he
love
calls his
because he
office.
basically never even proved he was truly part of the force in a sense. Like he just was like, "Let's
Yeah.
go, Rook. You're coming with
He
me.
kept
We don't
himself-
sign
His own
in or
thing.
anything. We just
He
go do
kept
drugs."
himself he kept himself separate from that. I think like it was too much of a reminder of like who he used to be, because he had one person there that he contacted that knew that would give him what he needed, right? All he needed was
Exactly.
a plant in there. But also I think it was too connected to who he used to be. And if you are immersed in trash, you can stay trash, right? And nobody can say anything because it's like I don't have any outside influence. It's like staying in your bubble and not understanding other cultures.
And he wasn't doing anything to train him. The entire reason why he was there
No.
that day was to get him dirty enough to where he would go along with their plan.
Right. They
Yeah.
needed a new.
All
He was
it
trying to
was.
make him
There was nothing.
because he had his crew. He was just building onto his crew basically.
And
And
the
the those
one-
other dudes.
And the
you
one thing
know.
he went against Alonzo for, saving that girl in the alley, is
Mhm.
the thing that saved him. Like
Oh,
that
yeah.
was, it was that. I mean, that's like a clear message of you go with your instincts, you do the right thing.
Yeah,
Don't just
because you
submit to
don't know
pressure.
when it's
and
gonna pay off. Yeah.
exactly.
Lala,
And,
did
like,
you see
my-
that? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brent.
Well, I was gonna say like my whole thing about Alonzo versus like his mentor was like I wonder like there's got to be a point where he separates from that like when they're together or they were together. I imagine like things were very parallel and he was like bought in, but then there's a point where he takes a turn. Alonzo takes a turn and gets so deep and does things so differently and tries to make things his own. And that like he's immersed himself in like those neighborhoods where I don't think his mentor, just from the fact that he was a white man, would not be able to do those things like Alonso could. Like Alonso can like get in deep and really manipulate things to an extent that his mentor never could, and he just like
Well,
has to stay in that control. And so like that's a part of why he's like, I think he separates himself from the actual like physical
Well, with whatever
body of the
happened,
police.
yeah, whatever happened with Roger, Alonso went deeper, like
Yeah,
a
exactly.
lot
That's what I'm
deeper.
saying.
Because
Like
Yeah,
I think
he went
like Roger never expected Alonso to double cross him. I think that
no,
was
exactly.
at all.
Yeah.
it was like you did dirty
At all.
stuff, but you don't do dirty to each other.
I think
Yeah.
So
All right.
controlling that neighborhood and kind of almost acting like a warlord in it is probably
Mhm.
part of the power struggle that got him to the point where he thought Roger was no longer relevant. He could just do whatever he wanted.
Yeah, he thought he was untouchable at some point.
Right.
And
And
then
definitely did it. Did you see
But
Jason
then also-
the
Chestnut's
Russians.
question, Lala, in the
Yeah.
chat? I just thought you might want to address that.
Yeah, I did. I answered back.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear, or I didn't see. I guess I'll read it here in a minute. Any other specific thoughts on specific scenes other than, it is a roller coaster of a film? And I don't know.
I will say this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I like the direction of this film. I love that when it immediately starts, you immediately feel like you are in the passenger seat as Jake.
Mhm.
I think it's hard for films nowadays to put you in the seats of someone or to have you like walk a mile in their shoes in a sense. Like movies don't really do that as well as they think they do. And if I'm being honest, Dune, right? I'm just gonna use Dune as a comparison. We were literally supposed to be walking in I forget the kid's name, but Timothy Chalamet's feet.
Mhm.
Like we're supposed to be like walking in. He was supposed to be us learning about not only himself but this world. And I didn't feel a connection in the sense that I felt with Jake sitting in that car. It's like I could feel the rumble of the car. I could feel his uneasiness. I could feel anytime he was confused. Like it's. But in
Well,
Dune,
even
I
when he
couldn't
was on
really
drugs,
feel
you
those
could see
things.
it. Like it
Yeah,
really felt
you know,
like it.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And so it's like I love that aspect of it because you can go like I went years without seeing this film, and I did remember it, but rewatching it and immediately being pushed into his perspective of this new world that he dropped into was I was like, this is interesting. I was like, I haven't seen this, and it made me go back and really think. Like, I haven't seen this a lot in films where I know they're trying to do it, it just doesn't land as well. And I thought this film landed it very well. So
Nice. I agree.
I also would say this, like touching on the like also kind of bouncing off what Black Girl Marvel said about the Dune. The problem was with Ethan Hawke's character, Jake. You meet the wife, you meet the child, you kind of have that little talk about what his intentions and what his motivations are, and that's all the background you really needed for that character. And then you saw through his struggle while he was being put in these compromising situations, you kind of could identify with him because it would make you feel sick as well. Like I know I was like going through the turmoil. Dune, it wasn't just like this open context of what the House Atreides is like or anything like that. You had to learn him, the conflict, the Empire, like there was too much world building happening in Dune to really give that I'm in the seat with Timothée Chalamet's character. So I think that's part of the problem as well. You didn't have to build the world because I think
also
we
it's
all
one of multiple films.
yeah,
too,
and
so they're like relying on that.
it's also the world was more relatable. So you think of the streets and stuff like that. I think that I have enough world experience that I've seen the way some of the streets can be, and that's understandably for me. And yes, I learned some things. I saw how horrible people can be about stuff. The Snoop Dogg thing was like I was not expecting how they were going to handle him. But it was like
You won't look at a pen the same way, will you?
no, not at all. Every time my kid hands me a pen, I'm like, okay, thank you. But
You want to collect that evidence?
It's more relatable.
be like, you're going to write with it, right? Like, what are you doing with this pen?
No, it's it is a movie that it's an experience that I think everybody needs to have once they're an adult. I don't think anybody under 17 should really be watching this movie. It is an experience everybody should have, and I think it's something that can open your eyes to just how deep people can let themselves go if they get even a smidgen of power. it really is about power. This movie is about power and the wild, naked use of it. That's yeah.
But I love it's like a I don't know, like the connection of the film to me is like he starts the film with power, ends the film without it, right? So it's a nice bookend of a film, and you don't really get clean up and tie-ins like that. Like the one person that he thought would not be able to bested him. You know, like he thought he was so above it that nobody could touch him, and he found this very high ground, very moral person that came in and was like, the way you're doing this is trash, and I'm gonna tear it down now.
Yeah.
From the lessons you've taught me. So you pretty much gave this kid the keys he needed to tear yourself down.
So he did train him then. He did train him. He
Yeah.
just didn't train him on how to be a cop.
The way exactly that he was wanting him to. And another thing too is like, I feel like Ethan Hawke's character doing that gave power back to that neighborhood, and they were able to like.
How did they want it? They wanted that power
because they were tired of Alonzo by that point,
Yeah.
and Ethan came in there and was like, that's why they left him alone. Because like, okay, so
Somebody
there is a
finally
chink
doing
in
something?
Alonzo's armor.
Okay.
Yeah,
He wasn't wanting control. He didn't want control of the block.
exactly. He was like,
You know, he was
this isn't
after
my
he was after
place.
Alonzo.
I
Yeah.
think this is true for everybody because even going back to the three gentlemen that Alonzo dropped Ethan off with, they once they realized that real stakes were part of their life and that he had saved that guy's cousin or niece, he was niece,
cousin. Yeah.
Either way, that they too were like, well, wait a minute, we don't want to follow along with this ridiculousness either because he has too much power. So even they realized there was a limit, and they were his disposal team. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, because to me the title makes sense. It was a training day. Like
Yeah.
he honestly taught him how to be a cop, but be a better cop.
Be a better cop. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right? He literally taught him how to be a better cop.
Yeah.
Well, he
Because-
taught him
but
how
he
to do
wanted to
internal
treat-
affairs, is what he did.
He wanted to teach him. Hilarious.
To a
He
like
wanted to teach him how
a
to
deep
be
degree, but yeah.
another pawn in his game.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing
But,
that blows
you
me
know,
away too. Is like it's when by the time you're done with the film, you're like, oh god, that was like one whole day. You're like, damn, that was a hell of a day. like,
Yeah, no, like, and it was
man.
just late shift too. It wasn't like
Yeah, it was
overnight.
just-
It was like
it's
10
like,
p.m.
whoa.
when the movie ends. Okay, so here's the question. Here's the big question. And at this point, if anybody comes to this show and they don't know, we're going to spoil the crap out of every movie we review.
Yeah.
Please
I
know.
mean, for the
that.
most part, at least we're not watching like newer movies for the you know.
Right. And if we do, we're very careful about that as well.
Yeah.
But the question is, did he remain a cop the next day or did he resign?
I think he does because I think he's like reinvigorated by all of this. Like he wasn't like he wasn't thwarted. He wasn't like shifted to like try to do what go down that path that Alonzo did. You know, he definitely stood to like a lot of his values that he had in the beginning. You know, like they played with a little bit, they skirted around it, like you know, like he definitely struggled with those decisions in those moments, but I think in the end he does, you know, maybe he like gets a transfer, but you know, maybe he's going somewhere else, but I mean he wanted to be a detective so bad, you know, like
I mean, but I agree with Brian. I feel like he might have somewhere in between it. He probably thought to himself like, "This is probably not the life for me."
right.
But then he survived, right? I think probably every cop has that moment where they're like, "I don't know if this would have been great for me." But I think him being able to stand up to somebody as powerful as Alonzo, also saving the cousin, which that ended up being a benefit to him and not a detriment like Alonzo thought it was going to be. Like, so he sees that like the way that he thinks, the way that I want to protect people, I want to go out on a limb, that worked in his favor. That made it so he went back home to his family, and then to kind of like sidestep all the booby traps that Alonzo kind of like put in. He's like, if I can do this, then the rest of this job is cake compared to this
Right.
day.
I got through this one training
And I
day,
have,
man.
you know,
I'm good.
So,
yeah.
so Jake's character was always trying to become detective. That was the whole reason why he was even doing this training day with Alonzo. So I have to imagine that if anything, his intentions of what he does in police work would have changed drastically. It's no longer about this type of accomplishment or getting to this point of being detective. You know, again, the whole idea why he went after Alonzo at the end, yeah, he might have wanted some revenge, but he was getting the evidence back, and he wasn't for that. And I also believe that you could even consider in your own headcanon, you know, he still has to deal with all of Alonzo's, you know, his cohorts because they're still out there and they don't like
That's
him.
what I was going to say. He literally now has to deal with the higher ups who are just as corrupt and who don't care. And I almost feel like Day 2 would be just as an entertaining movie, but it'd be a little bit more bureaucratic. I don't know.
Yeah, but can I say that I think that usually, I'm not saying that Alonzo was the head of the snake, but he was like the snake that got stuff done. And I think that taking him out would calm down the higher ups a little bit to be like, what does this kid know?
They probably would have all ran away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like what information does he have? But I pose a different scenario. What if Jake, due to having the power at the end and taking out somebody as powerful as Alonzo, becomes Alonzo?
I mean, it's possible.
What if he asks to stay in that neighborhood that people already know that he's like, oh, he's a cop, he's a good dude, like he took care of us. That adds weight to him.
Yeah, that was,
you know, he
exactly
could easily step into the shoes of Alonzo, maybe not as grittier and like murdering everybody, but he could do it in a way
more
that
on a mutual respect
control
level
over that community.
Okay, so here's my take on it. I think he doesn't do Vice because at that point he doesn't like it anymore. It was a bit much. He did PCP. He's good. I think he moves to a small Northern California town and becomes like a deputy and just chills the F out for a while. I genuinely feel like that character and his wife, he'd be like, I don't want to go through that again. That's just my take. But
now I want to bring up just like a topic because I thought I wasn't going to bring this up, but whenever we watch movies, especially, I mean, we're talking about Black History, you know, month, like this is the episode, and of all the movies that we could have picked, we picked this one. You know, there's movies like Hidden Figures and stuff like that. But I've always noticed that when you have these movies and when you put it in this context of we're talking about Black History Month or whatever, why does there always have to be this white knight in these movies?
Yeah, he is
because
that.
I felt like Ethan was Jake was the white knight in the thing. Like I was really hoping, like, because I went into this blind, so like Denzel's character, I really was hoping would have a moment of turning until you realize there was no redemption for this man.
Right.
When he blew away, you know, Roger. But I was really hoping they weren't going to do this where the white guy ends up being the hero of the neighborhood or the hood. And you have this concept of, because like even with like Hidden Figures, we didn't even talk on this, you know, the Kevin Costner character did not exist in the actual real life events.
Right.
You know, those ladies struggled for everything. There was no guy that said everyone gets to use the same bathrooms or whatever.
Right.
And it just drives me nuts. And I was kind of feeling like we have this again. And I get it. It's right after the 90s. It's kind of like 90s adjacent. And so you still have those tropes, but it just drives me nuts that you have this white guy who's going to go up and clean the hood from this guy.
The guy who wrote it is a white guy. So,
well,
he's, you know, I'm just,
Yeah.
you know,
Like,
directed by a black man, right? Acted, but main character is a black man for sure. And it definitely takes place in a lot of areas that feature people of color, but still, I think very much a white film in that sense. So you're right. The white knight trope is, did it have to be Ethan Hawke? It could have been anybody. Did it have to be a white character? No, it could have been anybody in that seat, I think.
I will say this though, me personally, because of the violent nature of this film, and this is no slight to any white people, I wouldn't want to see a black person do that to another black person. I see that enough in film. So for me, having it be a white character, it sucks that it's a white savior type of thing. But
Yeah.
I feel like nobody could play Alonzo better than Denzel Washington. Right?
Right.
Ethan Hawke was
Yeah.
great in his role. Like for me, you can't switch them and have Ethan Hawke be Alonzo and Denzel Washington be Jake, even though I feel like
Yeah.
Denzel Washington can still play the mess out of Jake, but
Oh yeah.
I'm just saying, like, it just wouldn't fit that way, and it could be perceived as like a white savior, but I feel like at the end the neighborhood stood up for itself only because they had
That's a
an
good point.
opening to do so.
Yeah.
Like all Jake did was strip him of his like leader title, and it
Mhm.
was up to the other people in that neighborhood to
Yeah.
be like, all
That's
right,
my
let
thought.
us handle this
Exactly. Yep.
ourselves, right? Because I felt like
Mhm.
if he killed him, then he was the savior. But the fact that
Yeah.
he allowed the neighborhood to handle their business in their way, and all he wanted was
Yep.
the evidence, I felt like he was just like
Yeah, 'cause
savior adjacent, and
yeah,
not so
because
much
he knew,
like,
yeah, like it was exactly like I had mentioned. I was like, because he knew that was not his place.
Well,
Like
mm-hmm,
that
doesn't
was
that just
not
make
his
him
place
an
to be.
actually
You know,
like
like
good cop? Like he did what he was
yeah,
supposed to do as a
yeah,
cop. Like he got the
right.
bad
yeah,
guy out of the way
Mhm.
and let the
yeah,
community go about its business.
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I think if you would have changed the community for the good after that event, like you see him going in and like
Right.
people are
And like,
identifying him and stuff, that would have been
yeah,
more.
yeah.
I think it's just been hitting because I've been watching a
I
lot
get
of
that.
like different movies, and
No,
you
totally.
have these white characters. I mean, even Django Unchained, you had the
Mm.
German guy who
Mhm.
buys Django and then lets him be
Mm-hmm.
free.
Mhm.
There's always this white knight in all of these films that are
Yeah.
touching on race when it doesn't necessarily need to be. There are movies where slaves and black people and everything else took care of themselves and they got themselves out of these things.
Right.
But of course, we have to add some pale, skinned people to, make it more palatable for,
Mhm.
Well, your audience is at least 70% white, so you do have to pander to the white people. No, yeah, you're right. It gets old.
And I think
It
that's
does get
funny
old.
because a lot
Yeah.
of white people always say black people get pandered to, and it's like, do we though?
no, not at
Do
all. I
we?
mean,
Do we get pandered to?
it's like you go back and you watch some of these things,
No.
like
Yeah, no.
He was so scared.
Sorry.
No.
let's make it slightly less, let's make it slightly less woke. And you throw people in like where they say that where it's so woke, but it's like
I immediately stop listening after they say
No,
that.
I do too.
Yeah,
I'm like,
right?
oh, you
Yeah,
don't have
woke-
a
You have
point.
nothing
It's
of
fine,
value
you
to,
have a point.
yeah.
Saying woke has
You
the
know,
opposite effect. You're
crazy.
like, what?
Yeah.
Just tune out. Just immediate tune out.
I go to sleep. I'm like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
out.
Okay,
I'm
here we
like,
go.
the moment somebody say woke, I'm asleep.
Strap
I'm
in.
like,
Yeah.
Yep.
So the next film, in fact, because we are at that point, we're going to have to switch over films, so we're going to rate this. But the next
Yes.
film is actually a good segue because the next film, there aren't any white people really to speak of in this film, and that's got its own discussion wrapped around it as well that we'll get to. For that reason, wait, I have that word blocked. Oh, that word. Yes,
Word woke,
that word, woke.
which means to be awake and to be aware.
Right.
no, it don't.
It's much like
Not anymore.
Snowflake, but we don't need to get into that. We don't need to.
I just feel like this. If somebody calls me woke, and if somebody thinks that I'm liberal, I'm like, go for it. I'm good. Thank you. I
Right.
appreciate your honesty. Have a good day.
Right.
Have the day
Honestly,
you
every
deserve.
person who has like who feel as though they're ally, even though I hate that word, but it fits. I do. It fits in this moment because I just feel like ally. Like, what are we doing? But anyway,
Yeah.
anybody that feels that they're an ally, please don't call yourself an ally. Let other people call you ally. Like, let the
Yeah.
people of color.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you're an
How
ally,
about just being
don't
a
be
decent
like,
human being?
I
right,
know.
just be human.
Yeah, like,
Don't be like, well, I'm an ally.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like saying I have a friend. It doesn't have the same.
yeah, it's the
It's just a
same.
word,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? But anybody that says they're an ally, I feel like if you feel as though you are an ally and someone says you're woke, that means you're doing your job well
Yeah.
at
Right.
this point.
Yep.
So, but yeah. But
No,
continue.
I like it.
Continue,
Okay.
Stadia.
No, you're good. That's what we're here for, is to get the discussions out, the nuance. So we're going to go into rating on this film, and then we're going to move right into the best man. So let's go in the same order that we started. So all the movie things, what is your rating? And I'm assuming nobody saw this when they were 12.
I was
Yeah.
3 years past 12.
Right.
So I was kinda close.
Didn't see it when I was 12, but I'll like do my first time I saw it. It was a 9.5. It's a 9.5 now. I mean, Denzel I mean, yeah. I love that man. Like, he could play the hell out of a trash can, and
Yeah.
we get
I
an
would
award
watch that.
for it. I mean, yeah, and I would watch it. Huge.
Denzel
Listen, if we can watch
Washington
Rubber-
plays-
So amazing.
Denzel Washington plays Oscar the Grouch. I like this.
Yeah.
Snitty, why are you in my brain? I was literally like, Denzel Washington's Oscar the Grouch in my head. I literally said that in my head. Ugh. Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
I want to see it now, but anyway.
Mhm.
Oh, really? I did.
So 9.5, 9.5, 9.5 for all the movie things. How about you, Mr. Marvelite?
This is not E for everyone, so just everyone be aware of that if you're going to go watch this film, it's a little jarring, but I would definitely
It be
agree with
triggering too.
all the movie
It be
things. Yes,
triggering.
yeah, it is triggering, but it's
Can
in a
be,
good
yeah.
way. Like you need to. I really feel like it was important, and it really helped me like kind of just it helped me understand just first of all the memes because I never understood the memes before because I was just trying to figure out okay, I love what Denzel Washington, but why are people like making these references? Now I get it. But I think it was a good movie. It was a necessary movie, and yeah, I would say 9.5 as well.
Nice.
Sweet.
Black
The
Girl
only reason why
Marvel.
it's not a
Oh,
10 is because Denzel Washington was a villain. Like it's hard for me to not look at it. Like I'm sitting there like the majority of the movie like loving Alonzo, and then blam, and I'm like, oh no.
they killed a good character. What are they doing? No, I'm with you. Oh, Black Girl Marvel. What is your rating?
Seeing this, I was the closest person to 12 when this movie came out.
Right.
I'm just gonna say my 15-year-old self because I was just like my 15-year-old self honestly enjoyed this film. Mind you, it was Denzel Washington, and it's blasphemy in a black household if you don't like Denzel Washington. It's just blasphemy. So I had no choice but to like this film. And I was playing. No, but I thought it was good. Plus, it's action filled, and like 15-year-old me was just like, "Ooh, shoot 'em up, bang bang" type movies, and like I loved it.
Yeah.
And so it's good. Me now, 20, literally 20 years older. Oh, I'm old. Okay.
No,
20 years older.
You're not.
But here's the thing, though. Everybody's older than me. You're always going to be older than me. So even when I'm old, you're going to be like,
Exactly.
"You're not old."
I know.
So
Well,
I'm old.
It's an anomaly, but it's real.
It is.
20 years older now, I see this film way differently than I did when I was 15. I understand a lot of the subtleties of this film, a lot of the stuff that's in your face even more. And honestly, not to toot my own horn, I enjoyed everything that you guys said. It actually added to some of the thoughts that I had in my head. But I'm kind of proud of myself that I had so many thoughts about this film. I really didn't think I was going to have quite as many insights or thoughts or connecting dots, and that's only because we're talking in a form of collaboration where like when I hear what you guys are saying, I'm like, oh yeah, that connects to this, and it's making me, and it actually just makes me like the film more. So I will give this film 20 years later, 15-year-old me would probably have given this like a 9 because ooh, shoot 'em up, bang bang. Me now, I'll give this film a solid 9.87.
Sweet.
Oh,
Very specific. I love it.
listen, it might have been sacrilege not to like Denzel in your household, but I'll tell you right now, in this household, if we're going to watch an action movie and like my mom's with us watching a movie, she's like, I don't know if I really want to watch this. Denzel Washington's in it. Okay.
Yeah.
Love it already.
I saw this movie in the theater. Great film. Loved the shock value. Loved the gritty nature of it. Appreciate all of the acting across the board. I do wonder if it was shot 10 years later, how much would actually have changed in the film. I don't think too much because I think things would have been pretty much similar. Maybe the car. Maybe it would have been like an Escalade or something rather than an old Oldsmobile or something. Other than that, I would say I'm going to give it the low end here. I'm going to give this a 9. Still good, obviously, but
no, that works.
But not a 9.5.
If it would have been if it would have been like an 8, Snitty, we would have to talk after the stream was over.
And there you go, Biggie. That's a good point. Maybe there would have been cell phones and various things to change things. So, but not much would change. This film's kind of universal in that sense.
No, not much. Yeah.
So, all right. Let's move on to the best man. I'm actually going to move us over to the wall. Why not? Because we can. And we're going to get on to the best man starring Taye Diggs as the best man. Lala, this was your pick. Why don't you go ahead and start and tell us why you picked this movie and what your initial impression was?
Okay. So Snitty asked me to pick a film, and I was like, I don't know what to pick. And then I thought about it. I was like, what I think would be like a nice film that's like still nice, still black, but still got like some stuff in it that I think all three of you guys would like. Because I was thinking about you guys. I was watching this, and I was like, well, there's some comedy in this, it's some action in this, it's like some drama in this, and I was just like, The Best Man. I think The Best Man would be a good one. And it has like it's a trilogy. So it's a trilogy. It has 3 films. Just let you guys
You
know.
didn't tell me that.
Ooh.
Yeah, it does. It's a
Is this
Now
the
I'm
first of the
excited.
trilogy?
This is the first of the trilogy. Yeah.
Oh,
What's the second
okay.
movie?
The Best Man Holiday. Yeah,
Oh,
I think so. It's The Best Man. Hold on. I just had it.
In
It's
the
The
Wood?
Best Man,
I did
Best
see
Man
that one
Holiday,
come up.
and then The Best Man Wedding. The Wood is a separate movie.
Oh,
It still has Tay Diggs in it, and
right.
that's I think where people's like confusion comes from.
This is
But
like
yeah,
the
so it's
era
The
of
Best
Tay
Man.
Diggs.
Yeah, it's like The Best Man, The Best Man Holiday, and The Best Man. I think The Best Man Wedding was like supposed to come out, or it's like, so it's something. It's something, but it's at least 2 films. They at least have 2 films in. I don't know what's happening with the third one, but they at least have 2 films in.
All right.
And you should check out the second one. I think you guys like the second one too. It's not it's not as classic to me as the first one, because sometimes you can't like sequels aren't as, but it's still good.
Same
because
ensemble cast.
Same ensemble cast, like everybody. Same
Oh,
ensemble cast.
interesting.
That's cool.
And like everybody comes back, and it just honestly it adds to the first story to the point where you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming.
So we get to see some of those relationships continue.
Yes, you do, and see how they continued off the screen,
Right.
into like the world. So I think you should check it out if you can. We'll have our own little private discussion about that. But yeah, so The Best Man is about a character. I'll just tell you guys what The Best Man is about. I'll be the Mr. Marmalade of this. I love you. I love messing with you. The film stars Tay Diggs, Morris Chestnut. Tay Diggs is a like a best-selling writer. Terrence Howard as well, yes, because Terrence Howard is very good in this film.
Yeah,
he is.
I think he shines in this film. I think
mean,
this
the
might
cast
have
is
been a film
crazy.
where they were like,
Nia Long.
yeah, I think this was a film where they were like, should he be an Iron Man? I think he should be an Iron Man.
Wow.
But this film is about it's about Tay Diggs' character, Harper, who is a best-selling writer. He writes a book that he writes this like saucy new book that blows up, and what he doesn't tell his friends, his close like college friends, is that it's literally a book about his relationship with like his best friend's future wife, and how they had sex together before he got into a relationship with her. And it's juicy and it's saucy and everybody loves it. But each and every one of their friends knew immediately who he was talking about.
Yeah.
And
he didn't do a very good job of like.
He didn't do a very good job of like, doing this stuff.
He just took the names and kind of shifted.
Exactly.
Them.
It's
Really all he
kinda
did.
Yeah.
Harper to Harpoon.
Everybody knew who this person was, who she was. The crux of the whole film is that Lance is the only person that didn't get to read a book, because he's been dealing with like his because he's a football player, very, very successful football player. He's been dealing with his career, he's been dealing with getting married, and he just hasn't had the time to read the book.
Well, Harper also insinuated maybe he wouldn't, maybe it's just not his thing.
He wouldn't read a book.
Right.
Yeah, it's his thing. But he also misinterpreted the fact that that's your best friend, and of course he's going to want to read what you wrote.
You watch his games,
so it's that type of thing. I like this film. I always thought this film was great. This is one of those films where like Sanaa Lathan and Tay Diggs were in a lot of movies together.
Yeah.
Because they were in The Wood together as well. So it's I like this film because it's just like I said in the beginning, it has a mix of everything. Not only does it have an all-black cast, which I thoroughly enjoy, there's literally not like a white person in the room. And there's, in no disrespect, I shouldn't have to say that every time, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
No, you don't have to say it every time.
Not at all.
Cool. I won't do it anywhere then. You guys gave me to go ahead. I won't do it anyway.
That's right.
So like it's all black cast. It's all different shades of black, which I dig. I see people that's my complexion. I see people that's like my brother who recently passed away he was very darker skinned. I see people that look like him. My brother's like in the middle of us. Like it's a whole thing. And so like it was just nice. It was women being strong women who might have strife with each other, but then like they found a middle ground. It's funny, it's sad, it has its like it's just It's dramatic because Morris Chestnut was in his bag when he put that boy over that railing, and that's like one of my favorite parts.
Oh man, yeah.
He beat the snot out of that boy, and I thought it was the funniest thing because he deserved it.
Mm-hmm.
He deserved it. But also, there's a lot of talk amongst African American people about this film. Thank you, Blind Biggie. It's a talk about because I watched this as a child. This film came out in 1999. I watched it as a child. Growing up and watching it more, I was like, so nobody's mad at Mia because she asked him to do this. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it takes two to tango.
Right. Yeah. I
The
mean,
And it's
bro
not
code.
like-
I mean, that's all I can say.
I mean, that's great, but it's not like he took advantage of her.
No,
Well,
She
didn't.
asked
no. But
No,
also
but
at the
that's what I'm
same
saying.
time, did he have to write this book?
No, he
Like-
did not.
That was
No.
that was
It's like-
Harper just being just an idiot.
Yeah, like that's.
I just love how they
pretty-
didn't think it was her though at first. Like it's just
Right.
everybody's struggling with.
Yeah.
Yo,
So-
you wanted what you wanted to do.
I would love to touch upon what Black Girl Marvel already said about the fact that there are no white people in this movie, and there are literally a couple, and it's because I'm white that I noticed there were a couple. And I want to touch on this because when I was done with the film, I reflected with my wife about the fact that there were like a handful of white people and with no speaking roles, like they're like in the background and they were just like set pieces almost. And I realized that that's something that I've never really experienced too much, maybe a couple of times, but never really thought about it. But people of color experience it with the majority of films. And it's something that it put me on my heels. And I went, wait a minute, if that's what it's even remotely like, I couldn't imagine going to every movie and having to deal with this. I would get dejected. I mean, almost immediately, it would be difficult. So that was just a profound moment for me, and I told Black Girl Marvel that I would bring it up because it's it was profound. I mean, I'm even feeling it right now, and it's been weeks since I saw the film. But
Can
Yeah.
I say
Please.
I thoroughly enjoy that you had that feeling. Like I'm not saying it like to laugh or to like joke or but I just like nobody ever looks inward and outward in their own like space in their own sense to even understand remotely. Like they again, like we said, they throw out the word woke, right? When one black person shows up in a normally all white ensemble, all of a sudden 007 is woke because it's a black person.
Yeah.
Is one of them
Or
in
that- or
there?
that
Oh my
dra-
God,
that-
they're woke.
Or Jurassic
Yeah.
World. Yeah, it was like
Exactly.
Like,
Oh,
doesn't
it's
make-
one black person, which
I
the
don't.
series
get it.
has
Like,
one black person at least in every film. It's been like,
God.
what? If you think about it, every Jurassic Park had one.
Hey,
black-
Yeah.
at least they didn't die in the last one. Like
exactly.
that's progress
Right.
because
So
Arnold
I
died in
just-
Jurassic Park.
Yeah, so I just love that Snitty had a feeling of like, yo, I didn't see anybody that looks like, oh yeah, that's like you had that like realization, and I like that you did because a lot of people don't,
Yeah.
because they don't watch these movies to even have that
No.
feeling. So
right,
So
And, like,
what's funny
for-
with me, like my mom would actually like we would watch movies like this a lot. The only reason I've never watched this one is the amount of language that's in it. like we always had this thing where it was like there are certain movies that like as a kid like we stopped because if it had so much profanity at the beginning of the film, like we would just stop it because it was
well,
just
it
a
is rated
precursor for
R,
more.
so it makes sense.
Right,
It's rated
but like we watched a lot of movies similar to this, and I always just thought of it as like this is like the genre, and then I grew up and I'm like how interesting, just kind of like what Mr. Snippet said was like, it's almost like this is a niche like industry of like black performances of all black casts. But then when people like Jordan Peele will say something like, I'm going to have the majority of black actors in my movies, it's like, well, that's really unheard of. That's inappropriate. But then Tim Burton only casts white people in his movies, and we don't talk about that. So it's like the double standard is very strong,
Yeah.
and it's just interesting.
Well, on a similar side, like what Snitty was mentioning, what for me, it's like I don't understand when people that look like me start to have a problem with like they're even wanting to be all black cast or more black filmmakers or like anything like that. Because like for me, it's like it's not going to take me out of it. I'm still going to be able to empathize with these characters or find myself in some of these characters or just simply enjoy the film regardless of of it's predominantly white or black, and like, so it's just a weird thing for me. Like, people fight this whole thing. I was like, those stories still need to be told too. Like, why wouldn't you want to hear those stories also? Because it's like a part of
Because
our reality.
they don't want to be confronted with there's more
Yeah.
of the world beyond their backyard.
Oh no, totally.
know,
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But
So what did everybody else think of this film?
The Best Man, though, as a film, is a human story. Like, this is a story about best friends. Like, everybody can relate to this. Everybody's thought about their best friend's girl in one way or another, or guy, or whatever. So every one of these characters, either you've been them or you've known them. And so the fact that the people are black in this movie is not actually necessarily an important feature, other than some of the cultural aspects, because
Honestly,
it's a human
yes.
story. You know, it's a human story.
Yes.
Exactly.
This is one of those films where, like, honestly, just like a lot of films, if you really think about it, you can interchange races and it'll still be a really good film, because the source material itself doesn't rely on, oh, this works because they black.
Right.
No, it
Right.
works because they're human, right?
Yeah.
It works because everybody has a best friend. Everybody does things in college that they regret, that they hope never comes back to bite them. A lot of people don't write books about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
I love
and if
that.
they do, they write it better and hide stuff
Yeah.
better.
Or why not omit that part? Just omit that part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But he
Yeah,
wanted to get
well-
caught. He wanted to get
Because
caught.
he
He
knew.
wanted to. I feel like he wanted
that-
to. He was
yeah.
like, I'm tired of this weighing on me,
You're right.
And-
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna put it in the book. And if he figures it out, great. And if he doesn't, I'm absolved because I put it in the book.
Right.
You can't be mad at me because I put it
Harper
in
seemed to be the
something.
kind of guy that was like trying to put a monkey wrench into his own life. Like he was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
setting up the traps for himself. Like it was like he wanted himself to fail at some points.
Mhm.
Like,
Well, he didn't think
you
he
know,
owned it. He had some imposter syndrome. He kind of discussed that a little bit. He felt like it was
Mhm.
more than he was permitted. But we didn't get
Right.
initial impressions from both All the Movie Things and Mr. Marvelite. So, All the Movie Things.
Yes.
What do you think of The Best Man initially?
Initially, so this is the first time I've seen it. The cast is great. Like, I've loved every single person in other films that I've seen. That it was great to see them all
In one film.
in one film, and it was just it is eye opening to see, because like we definitely don't see enough of stuff like this, where it's black filmmaker, all black cast, and just like seeing some of those cultural things too that like it just for me is like eye opening, and that I need to see more of that. And and yeah, and then but also underneath it all, the structure of it is like this classic kind of comedic element of like this person did this thing, like, and he's made this story. And then we've seen this a bunch of times too, of like a similar kind of thing where it's like this miscommunication or misunderstanding kind of thing happens, and it kind of gets blown out of proportion, and then he's trying to like contain it but not doing a really great job. And just like the interactions with everyone was really great. One of my favorite scene is probably like I saw an interview with Taye Diggs and Nia Long where they talk about that scene where he comes back to her place. It's kind of like lick his wounds or whatever after that interaction with Morris Chestnut. And I guess she like really hits him.
She really smacked
Like she
him.
really smacked him, and like he was
Yeah.
not expecting it.
Nope.
And he was like actually kind of mad about it later on. Like it was like so like so they like, had more impact for me now after seeing it, and seeing the interview. I was like, oh man, like that scene is like that's pretty real. But yeah, it's just so funny. But I really enjoyed this film, so
Nice.
thank you for the suggestion. Yeah,
Mr. Marvelite.
Yeah, definitely great pick. I feel like every single character had problems, and
Yeah.
their problems kind of festered as they were away from each other. And it was
Yeah.
like this whole outing to be together was what kind of helped them all resolve their own issues. And I love that. It's like your friend, like the message I overall got with this, like yeah, your friends may be messed up, but you all bring the best out of each other. And even like Quentin was like a D-bag like the majority of the film, but you see that like he does it out of like a kind, like he wants to call out his friends for being full of crap, but at the same time he doesn't hide what he is, and you see him actually being compassionate at the end. The Julian and Shelby relationship was my favorite thing. Like I hated Shelby from the first time I met her, and it was
Before
just like,
she even spoke, you hate her. Like the way she carries herself, you hate her.
Oh man.
and like I'm sitting
Yeah,
there
yeah.
and like I don't know why, but I like of all the characters, the Julian character, which Harold Perrineau,
Perrineau, I think.
this like
Yeah.
I'm sitting there like I like this guy. Why do I like this guy so much? Why? And like the stuff that he has done, like as an actor.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I'm seeing like with Matrix Reloaded and Resurrections,
He's
and
He was great in
Mercutio.
Lost.
Dude, he's
Yeah.
Yes.
Mercutio.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
my.
Yeah.
Yes, with Romeo and Juliet, like that's
Yeah,
like he was my
exactly.
favorite character out of that
Yep.
like the actor of that entire movie.
He's an amazing actor.
Oh,
Yeah.
And it was like it was one of those things where I found myself gravitating each of the characters because of the actors, first of all, because they did such a good job, but then like I was uncomfortable, then I was like really into it, and then I was uncomfortable again because like they were just real. Like it was like I love my friends, but I don't know if I could handle being called out like in front of everybody all the time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they were able to acknowledge like the whole church scene where like where Harper has to pray with his buddy, and like
Yeah.
This is his hand.
it's like there was just so many like different. It was an emotional roller coaster. I loved every aspect of the film. It was just a lot of fun, and the character they represented their characters very well.
I call this a movie a nail biter because all the way to the altar, I'm sitting there like, well, how is this going to end? I can't quite tell how this is going to go. And those flashes of him thinking about Harper and her together are very powerful. Very
And
powerful.
he's like his acting on top of that, man.
Yeah,
I was waiting to see if he was going to like call it off at that point.
Well, and like he's crying, but you know he's
pushing
crying
through
because he's pushing through this, not because he's actually happy. He's crying because he's thinking about it every second that he's agreeing to these vows. And I'm just like, wow, is this really a stable place to build a relationship?
But at the same time, like that was the hypocrisy about him, because like even before he became a football star, like there's that whole conversation about he's sticking it everywhere he wants to go,
right?
But if she's not faithful, it's like the end of the world.
Yeah,
like
right.
that double standard. It was very evident. Like it was kind of like at that point, it's like, well, good, maybe this will help you be humble, realizing what you've done versus what she's done. You're upset because of one person. Why is she not upset for you for everything else that you've done?
Being this film came out in '99, you can tell the patriarchy is heavily saturated within it still. And as much as there's a lot of great exploration, you still see these very heavy tones, especially from Morris Chestnut's character, talking about she's got to eat. She's got to cook food for me. She's got to be in the kitchen, take care of the kids. Once we're together, that's the way it is.
But I think like in the instance of his character, that fits extremely well.
Yeah.
He's a football star, and that's on the team.
He's an alpha.
You don't become a football star without your mom taking care of you every step of the way. And then you're going to expect that the person you're with is going to do the exact same thing that your mother's going to do. So for me, I feel like that's not even like a trope in this film, because I feel like that's just the character work of this film. of the writing. Also, this was directed by Malcolm D. Lee, and he is the cousin of Spike Lee.
I did know that. I looked that up. So something Biggie mentioned earlier that I wanted to mention based upon what all the movie thing said was
the Shakespeare thing.
This movie, you could literally put it in 15th century England, and the story holds up. It would hold up in a sci-fi. Like you could literally put it wherever you wanted, and it would hold, because it's just a human story, and I like that. I know I said it before.
Another thing too, I want to mention Regina Hall.
Yeah.
Like, I was not expecting to see her in this, and she was like, I mean, I'm so used to seeing her in like these comedic roles or like Scary Movie. Yeah, and like she was really great in this, and it's great to see like this progression she's had, and coming back to kind of doing some more like dramatic stuff as of late. So like I wanted to mention her too. And also, like for me, I felt like they did a good job of like balance. So there's so many characters in this, but each one has like, Taye Diggs, of course, is like the main like through line, the person that connects all of them. But they like really flesh these characters out
You
efficiently.
knew who they all
and
were. You know who they
yeah,
all were based on like if they
where
said a
they
sentence,
fit.
if they had a paragraph, however it is. Like you
Yeah,
immediately knew Quentin's place in that group.
yeah,
He might
exactly.
have been like the fun, crazy one, but he's the one that'll keep you honest. He's the
Yeah.
one that'll
Yep.
call you out on your stuff. If
Mhm.
you're trying to lie to him and yourself, he's gonna be like,
Yeah.
no, we don't do that here. Everybody had like their place, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Quentin's
They all
also
had, like, a little
battling
arc.
like he's battling with that idea of responsibility about I think taking over for his father, and so it's kind of
Mhm.
like he's struggling with the concept of like settling in and deciding to settle down, and he's angry at all of his friends for compromising when
Mhm.
he has to make this decision and he's trying to be himself.
Essentially, he
So
has to grow up just a little bit. You know what I mean? Like I think he was the one in the group that didn't really grow up, but like he just, but he had to grow up. But he was like, I'm gonna still be
Mhm.
me, but I'm gonna grow up a little bit.
Yeah,
Just like,
but
Yeah,
but everybody
kinda-
needs to grow up. Let's all
it's
grow
kind of
up.
like not practicing what he preaches, kind of thing, maybe.
Yeah.
there was
So,
definitely that. But I related to that character because I've always been the kind of like, I want to try this new thing, I want to try that new thing kind of person. So when somebody gets down on people for being the try-it-all, jack-of-all trades, I'm like, what's the problem? Just because I
Right.
didn't settle into career at 20 doesn't mean I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah.
So I related to him on that level. The telling everybody what they're doing wrong, I did not, but that's,
I
whatever.
related to him on that level.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. That's funny. I was thinking, is Lala, our
Yeah.
Quentin in that sense?
Honestly, I feel like I am y'all's. I feel like I am y'all's Quentin. I'm cuter and I do it a little nicer. Is what I think.
We'll take it. We'll take it. And
Isn't that right, Mr. Marvelite?
And I'm not going to write a book or tell anybody about anything.
I am. I can't wait.
the tell all.
See, Aina.
Okay, can I say this?
I can't say it right, but Aina says, "I love the scene where the boys and are playing cards. The dialogue feels
I was just thinking
authentic,
of that scene.
like friends
Yeah.
having a discussion, and it got real for a
Yeah.
pretty hot minute.
Yeah,
in
it
there.
did.
So
Let me say this.
Or moving some furniture around.
right,
The best way to make this more relevant to nowadays is kind of like the idea of Harper has like a TikTok that he thinks nobody knows about, and he's just gone off and telling all these stories about people in his life,
Yeah.
and they all just shit. Like that was my first
Like
thought
they're
because
never gonna see it.
I was on a live last night. We were talking about how how many of your friends and family actually know that you're on TikTok, and it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
they even if
I
they know, they
intentionally
don't come
try to
over.
avoid people. Yeah, it's like
Mhm.
I avoid, and it's at the same time it's like, oh well, thankfully they're not on my side of TikTok. Well, what happens when one of your friends gets on your side of TikTok and here's what you said about them, and then they share it with everybody else? It's like that
It's
was
kinda like that.
exactly like
Yeah,
like it made perfect relevance, and I feel like I'm a little bit less old because I could understand that better that way.
Mhm.
Gen Z adjacent, if you will. Does that feel better?
that
Hybrid
seems to be
millennial?
the word of the night. Adjacent.
Adjacent, yeah.
We've used that quite a few times already.
Should we have no? Okay.
For those
yeah.
for those playing along at home.
Today's word of the day is adjacent.
Adjacent.
Adjacent. Oh, that's 3 syllables. We don't even get to do the cool Sesame Street thing. Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. So we should go ahead and move to rating this film because we do have one more, and I would consider the last film to be a fairly complex philosophical film.
Oh, it's exciting.
So there's a lot to discuss, to sink our teeth into. If you haven't seen The Best Man, and I think we may have ruined it, but if we didn't, go give it a watch. Solid flick. Everybody needs to watch this movie, I think.
Also, not E for everyone, so just be prepared. This is more adult, themes. And
I guess that's right. We are a PG-13 show telling people to watch R-rated movies. So, yeah, keep that in mind, I guess. That said, why don't we do our ratings? Let's go in the order we started. So, Black Girl Marvel, what do you rate The Best Man? And did you see this when you were 12? You would have been 12.
I would have been 12. Let's just say.
I was going to say, she has to finish her text. It's no big deal.
No, it's not a sex at all.
the tell-all book.
It is a tell-all book.
She's taking her notes.
I was about 13 when this movie came out, so I've been on the cusp of all these films.
I know.
So I did watch this and I liked it. I thought it was a great movie. Again, I liked movies as a child, so like again, I didn't get all the nuances because like I'm 13. Come on. I would love to be like, I understood it all because I'm smart. Not happening. But I will say I think I got the concept of the movie. I got the concept of what's going on, all of those type of things, even at 13. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. Quentin was my favorite character because I felt like Quentin was a lot like me. Like I'm very honest with people, and they might be mad at me at first, and they'd be like, "You right," and then they'll go about their day and and figure some stuff out. So I think 13-year-old me would probably have given this an 8. Me now, I'll give this a solid 9 because it just hits different for me now. Like I've had friendships that didn't end the way I thought they were going to end. Sometimes people are just in your life for a season, not forever. And so it took me a long time to realize that. And for me, that movie kind of like encompasses that. Like, are you willing to let go of a friendship, or are you willing to work on it? Are you willing to let go of a person that you had an idea of, or are you willing to walk away because that ideal that you had got shattered? Right? Like, what are you willing to do? And I feel like this movie is way deeper now than it was when I was 13, and that's why it gets a boost up in a point, because it's just I can see the through lines of every character. Because Harold's character, I can't remember his name, but Julian and Shelby are a classic abusive relationship, which in this day and age, people would make fun of him and be like, how are you getting abused? And she's like not even like physically abusing him. She's emotionally abusing him and manipulating him into being what she wants him to be. And then it's like that thing of like that clarity of when you find somebody that allows you to be you, that you connect with on a level that you've never experienced before. What do you do with that, right? So like I enjoyed the Julian character because of that too, and that hits different as an adult for whole different reasons I won't get into on this podcast. But it just hit differently. Like it's growing up, I'm like, some of these things actually happen to me. Some of these things are like within my reach, or I have touched on, and it just it's just amazing that a film represents something in my life. It's not a lot of films I can be like, oh, that happened to me, because they don't have a lot of people in there that look like me to experience, or writers behind the scenes to write a character that went through something that I went through. So this film just hits for me. So 9.
Right.
All right, Mr. Marmalade.
The 12-year-old me would have not seen this film again because of the language. We would have stopped it before it got too long. But other than that, it was a fantastic film. Again, it's not E for everybody. Just as a precaution, because rated R. But it was a great story about friends, about friendship. I came out of the film wishing that I had some close bonds of friends like that. Just like the bonds within them, even though they argued and fought and it was messy and whatever, they were there for each other. And when everything came down to the push comes to shove, they were, as much as they were like enjoying like seeing each other beat the crap out of each other or whatnot, they were there to try to find a way to make it right, because they knew that it would be the worst decision for this guy. And seeing them being willing to call them out for their crap, but then at the same time be happy when they would make right decisions and be supportive of each other. I mean, that's the kind of friendship you want to have. You just, that makes you be honest, because sometimes we're not always honest with ourselves or with others, but our friends will see us. And so I would definitely have given this, I give this about an 8.5. It's a good story. It's definitely a great cast of characters. The actors did a great job. I can't really say anything better than that. I mean, it was a good film. It was a really good film.
All right, all the movie things.
Yeah, also 12-year-old me probably wouldn't have watched this. Me now, I give it a solid 8. And I think for me, there was like, the one thing I didn't mention was like some of the, well, we kind of touched on it. There's like some of those like male patriarchal like stereotypes in it that was kind of like, for me personally, is kind of a, it's like me, like for me, I've been like unpacking all that stuff for the past few years myself, so it's like when I see that on there, I'm just like, oh man, it's just like that's. I mean, and the time of it came out. Of course, that stuff's still kind of like around. I mean, even to this day, it's still not really dealt with as much as it should be. But for me, like I was just like, was that? I understand, like at the time, it was probably necessary for the story, but but Lala did make a good point. Like for Morris Chestnut's character, it makes sense for his character alone. It's just like I felt like it didn't need to like permeate throughout every single part of the film for me, anyway. But other than that, I really enjoyed it. It was kind of like a universal kind of you know story and structure there, which I really loved. That like that didn't hit me till later on when I was like thinking about it more, and I was like, oh yeah, this is totally like just a great way they used this story in like such in a more unique way, and added like this cultural aspect from like uh black people's perspective, and so that was great to see that. But yeah, an 8 for me. It was just
All
I
right.
laughed, and yeah, it was great.
So I'm actually just going to say straight away, I thought this was a 9. I think everybody should watch this movie because it is a good, even if you don't like rom-coms, it's a good movie. There's enough, I guess, turmoil within the film that you feel drawn in. I felt like every time they brought another layer in, I was like, oh, really? And I found myself at points like almost jaw dropped, like, wait, what? They really went there? And I really like those kinds of films when I feel drawn in, each layer pulls me further and further into the character's plight. And in this case, we get to watch Harper slowly dwindle down this terrible hole until he's drunk, gets caught off guard, and his best friend takes the book and runs in the other room to read those terrible, terrible words. So solid 9. Everybody should watch this movie. That being said, we have a pre-review by Sean. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. I hear screaming. I want to make sure that it's just normal screaming and not bloody murder.
I love that as a father, you can be like, hold up.
I gotta see if that seemed like something
No,
was taken
that's
away.
that's
Yeah.
normal. That's normal screaming there. That's
Yeah,
normal.
it's just a normal scream.
I haven't got a text, and nobody came screaming through the door, so I think we're good. That said, like I said, we're going to move over to the pre-review with Sean, and we'll be right back.
How's it going, Real Study viewers? I'm Sean, and I'm back with this week's pre-review. Let's start things off right this week with The Batman. Now, if my calculations are correct, this is the 12th time we've seen the Batman on the big screen since 1989. That is amazing. And if you look at the Batman movies as a whole, they have some real honors. The Dark Knight has the privilege of having a Rotten Tomato score of 94%, but the Batman franchise also has Batman and Robin, which clocks in at a wonderful Rotten Tomato score of 10%. Either way, I will be going to see this movie. It looks awesome. I can't wait to see what Battinson is like. That's the thing about these Batman movies. They may change the actors, but the thing is, the characters really don't change. It's just different iterations, and it's just like reading the comics. Some writers write him this way, some writers write him that way. I'll definitely be going to see the Batman. Next, Netflix brings us The Weekend Away. This movie starring Leighton Meester is about basically a stay-at-home mom who gets talked out by one of her best friends to take a weekend away to Croatia. Now that just sounds crazy to me, but during this weekend away, Leighton Meester's friend has an accident, and Leighton Meester becomes the prime suspect of the police, and the only people she has to lean on appear to be people that are criminals. So she's caught in this in-between, and it just looks like a fun whodunit movie. And, if you like those, check this one out. Also this week, Hulu is bringing us Fresh. This movie starring Sebastian Stan is about a girl, Noah, she's done with online dating. She's done with it. She's ready to just go out, live her life, and if she meets somebody, she meets somebody. And lo and behold, she runs into Steve, played by Sebastian Stan. And, they seem to hit it off really well. And then Steve wants to be honest with her and reveals something about himself. I believe he has a particularly strange dietary habit, if you know what I mean. This looks like a wild movie, and I'm there for it. This looks cool. And also, coming to Amazon Prime, Amy Poehler directs Lucy and Desi. This documentary is going to tell us the life and times of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz and their life and times through the wonderful sitcom of I Love Lucy. So if you enjoy their story, this is going to be a wonderful in-depth look at their lives and how the show affected everyone around them. All right, thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see y'all next week.
And we are back from the pre-review, and that had some great review or pre-reviews, if you will, including the Batman, which I know everybody's excited to see. We will probably review that as soon as it hits HBO Max. I'm still not into theater viewing yet, mostly because of the babies, but that's that. That said, we have one more final movie. I did talk about doing the movie Pure, which is a short film on HBO Max. It is 12 minutes. If you haven't watched it, is on there. One of my mutuals on TikTok asked that we review this film. His name is Inferno, and I told him we would, which means in order to give it a full reviewing, I think maybe we should pause it and have everybody else watch it, and we'll just do a quick little segment on it next week, just a quick little intro, because I think everybody can handle 12 minutes between now and then. Plus
for sure.
Whatever movies we're doing. So just to give it a full justice. So that.
Plus, I want to shout him out on TikTok too and do a little review on TikTok. So.
And you should. And it is good. Don't get me wrong. I think everybody should watch it. But it was short, and I would like to get into talking about short films as well.
I love short films.
So I
have to find.
Oh,
we should do a yes, I do. We should do a short film show one day, and I have to find this short film that's actually on Amazon Prime that's wickedly amazing.
So we'll do 20 of them, or we'll pick a number that really fits, and we'll each bring 5.
Like a mini film festival.
Yeah, a short film
depends
festival.
Depends on how short they are.
I may or may not have made one.
Oh, we'll have to add all the movie. I'm
just saying.
To the
I want to see it.
In fact, you know what? Actually,
11 minutes.
That makes me that makes me want to do something, because we have several Film Talk friends, and a lot of them have made short films. What if we did half production release short films and then half student or friend short films?
I love it. Gimme.
And see if anybody's willing. If you're willing to put your stuff out there for us to critique, we're not going to be harsh, as you already know. Brian, if you're willing to put yours on our show, that would be awesome. We'll talk about it off camera, so you don't have to feel obligated. But we'll talk about that.
Can I just mention something that's completely off topic?
Sure.
Literally all the movie things Brian is sitting there. All of a sudden he pulled the sleeve back. It was like the whole. I really felt like I needed to hear some great anecdotal movie trivia type thing.
I'm still waiting for the next ASMR TikTok though.
Oh yeah, it's coming. It's coming soon, guys.
Thank you.
Or just do a live one right now.
Yeah, I've been waiting on it.
Okay, why did I get Grandmaster vibes? oh, wonderful. Let's do this.
Real quick, because Biggie is still here in the chat, which thank you for still being here, Biggie. We love it. We love that you're here every week as well. All of you guys that are here every week, we appreciate it. And
Thanks,
new
students.
viewers as well across the board.
Thanks, students.
Yes, the real students. But I wanted to say, Biggie got us across a first threshold. This is the first time we've ever had 15 subscribers on the channel, which means we hit a whole new platform or plateau. Wow. I mean, we can do more, including being VIPs now, and now we need to get to 25 subscribers. So there's that's just the way Twitch works.
I see.
So yeah, this is the most engagement we've ever had. So thank you, real students.
Amazing.
We really appreciate it.
We're engaged. I'm sorry, I'm already married.
Aw.
Yeah, me too.
Did you hear the collective? Did you hear the collective? Aw. Yeah. Everybody's like, aw.
Sing. Wait, I don't even know if you guys are single. I'm not even going to say that you are or not. But
I am single.
Okay.
Yes,
well, hey,
I'm single.
I'll
say it.
All right. Well, if you're in the Portland or Michigan area, no, I'm kidding, of course.
And you like ASMR?
You like movies and ASMR.
Yeah.
we're gonna
He'll whisper
Mhm.
sweet nothings in your ear.
Yes.
we're gonna move on to the last movie of the night, and this is Us by director Jordan Peele, who has
Ooh.
directed several things at this point. I think 3 or 4 things. It's not a long list, but still a good list, including Get Out, Lovecraft Country, The Twilight Zone, and then the new movie coming out this year, Nope.
Nope.
Which looks interesting.
Yeah.
So he's got a very unique approach.
Can't wait for that.
And
Yeah, I love it.
this was Mr. Marvelite's pick, so I would love to hear. In fact, I want to know why you picked this and not Get Out.
Not Get Out. Mm.
One, because I had not seen all of Us. I had started it and had not been able to finish it. I have watched Get Out way too many times at this point. Like I have digested that a lot. I love Jordan Peele. I think everything that I have seen so far, like the only way that Nope can bother me if I watch the film is if at any time I watch it and do not think,
Nope.
oh, nope,
I
not
agree.
doing it.
That's the standard for that
that's
film.
like that's the thing. Like he's got very little like threshold. Like that's the bar. It's low, so he has to hit that. But like all of these movies, like Get Out, Us, hopefully with Nope, there is something that he has been able to do that I think M. Night Shyamalan tried to harness and was starting to get there at first when he was hitting films that he just lost. And it's that ability to twist the narrative to really shock you into thinking you thought you knew what you're going into, but then it being something completely different. I had lots of hope for like Signs and Village, and then you had things like Devil and stuff like that, where it just kind of felt like the writing was sloppy with M. Night Shyamalan. But these have been very crisp and specific, and Jordan Peele knows his story and knows how to put it off. And let's face it, the cast is always phenomenal. I have loved seeing how he kind of I'm gonna probably mess up her name. I'm so sorry if I do. Lupita Nyong'o.
Perfection.
Okay. I have loved her in everything that I have seen her in. Winston Duke, I am like a huge fan of Winston Duke, especially like from M'Baku with Black Panther, and seeing him in this, and then there was another.
Y'all need to see 9 Days.
Yeah, it's like
9 Days came out. Like he's amazing in that.
It's seeing these range. It's like seeing the ranges of these actors and seeing what they're doing, and you could tell they enjoyed what they were doing, and even the kids were phenomenal in this film.
Oh my gosh!
But Us is about a family. No, I'm not going to go there. But like it just, I love the random concepts in this film. Like you kind of knew there had to be something else, but to know exactly what it is at the end, it was so satisfying. Like the whole thing was just satisfying. And like where I was thinking that it was going to be like this family that struggles, and like every moment it's them like trying to survive. They took the offensive very quickly, and I love that about this family. Like there were aspects like they were a typical family with their own like flaws, but when they decided to deal with a problem, they're like doing body counts at some points, and I just love that about this thing. So yes, absolutely love this film, and yeah, we'll go from there.
All right, I'm gonna take second reins on this one because I don't do that very often. So walking into this film, I bought this in a 2-pack because I had already watched Get Out and was like, oh, I want to own that, and so we were like, well, we'll just buy this because it's Jordan Peele, and like duh, like you're gonna buy it. And it's interesting because I like the film. I do. I have a good impression of the film, but I struggle with a lot of the end parts where things are ambiguous enough that it's hard to pin them down, but it's so ambiguous that I don't have enough headcanon to fill the space. I don't know if that makes any sense. That's just me. As far as the acting, phenomenal across the board. I love watching every actor get to play a dual character. I think that's really neat to see because you don't get to see that from most people. They don't get to do the whole range in one film. It's one or the other. And I think Gabe is a character I absolutely just relate to, being a dad and just his ridiculousness and his cheesiness and his dadness in the boat. I relate to him. So watching his character you know, anyway, I like the film, but I think I struggle with a few aspects of it, if I'm being overly honest.
What are the ones you struggle with?
I want to hear what you guys have to say. We'll get to the nuance. So, Black Girl Marvel,
Okay.
go ahead. What do you think of Us?
This is my first time watching Us. And I was like, I like Jordan Peele. I hope to work with him one day. I feel like Jordan Peele is going to be my future mentor. I don't know what that is, but I feel like he is, because he writes original things, and all I do is try to write original things. And I feel like I always I have these ideas, and I feel like they are very similar to how he creates these interesting ideas, but they're always based in some type of race or weirdness or political or something like that, but just in a way that you can swallow it enough, and it's not like, oh my god, here come another one about this thing. He gives it to you in a more palatable way, you know what I'm saying? You can digest this, you know, and I've heard things. So like I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I didn't think I was gonna like it. Like I don't know why I thought that it's Jordan Peele, but like I was just like, all right, let's. Because sometimes you watch the trailer is amazing, and then you'll watch a movie and be like, this didn't live up to the trailer. And I felt like this lived up to the trailer. I loved seeing the duality in these characters. I love seeing it was done so differently enough that I didn't get a sense of like, oh, Lupita, you playing this person, but it don't seem. But she played two very distinctive, different people, to the point where like it carried the film like throughout the thing. Like, you know, the dynamic with her family, then the dynamic with Red's family. Like it's just, you know, the explanation of things, pacing to me was good. Like I really wasn't like bored watching this, especially with them like building up the family in the beginning and all these type of things. So like I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I thought it was really good. The ending has to be my favorite part of this entire movie. I loved it because it made so much sense to me, and I was very mad that I didn't catch it because I felt like I should have. So
I think he subverts it enough. It's hard to catch. That's just my opinion, though. All the movie things. What was your take on this?
Yeah, I love this movie. It's for me, from a screenwriting perspective, it's like this is what I talk about it quite often, about like using too much dialogue for exposition and explaining things, and instead of letting your audience, you know, just lead your audience a little bit and they'll figure it out. Jordan Peele trusts the audience, and this is exactly what it is. There's like so much subtext in his films, you know, and like you can look at so many different things and from so many different perspectives and still like come away with something different, I think. And I think that's what, you know, ultimately he's trying to do. And for me, this is another one. There's just so much metaphor and symbolism in this one. But it can be easy to like get caught up in the little things, you know, like just all the little things that we see from like the underground, you know, about like the rabbits and like all these different things, but also like the fact like, oh, it's a white rabbit, and the whole like, you know, following the white rabbit kind of concept with Alice and and
The upside down kind of thing.
like I just love it from a screenwriting perspective too, because of so much subtext, and he doesn't rely so much on dialogue to over explain things, you know. And for me, I think that just lends to like it being more rewatchable too, as you can go back and maybe see something you didn't see before, you know. And like Winston Duke, his like Mr. Marvel like mentioned, he's becoming one of my favorites. Like I saw 9 Days last year, and like it like wrecked me, and big part of it was because of his performance. And if you haven't seen 9 Days, like please see that movie. I don't know why it's not getting more attention from, you know, any other award shows or anything, or just any more attention period, but it needs to. But yeah, like I think with Jordan Peele, he's like stepping up his game every single time. Like I feel like this was just that much better than Get Out. And I feel like Nope is gonna just like be another step above this even, and so I'm really excited to see what he does. But I really love this one.
Seeing what he did with Lovecraft Country definitely led me to believe that there is way more to come from Jordan Peele. Like this guy
Oh yeah,
has a huge
Lovecraft Country
career
is
ahead of him.
so good. Yeah,
And to see that this is the caliber of twist that he's willing to go with on a sophomore adventure
yeah.
is pretty impressive. Whether I like the ending or not, you're right. This is a solid film and definitely worth an exploration. I think I just struggle with those few aspects where if you go back and watch it with the end in mind, some things don't completely 100% add up or become hard to buy.
Well, I think there is this thing where people get hung up on the how
Right.
rather than the why. You can, and you can do that with any movie, really. But it's so I think that's one thing that it could be like. How do they feed the rabbits? How do they do all?
Yeah.
Where they get this kind of thing? But
Yeah.
Or
I mean,
the kills are similar. Yeah, I get that, but
I feel like
Yeah,
I feel like everything. I feel like everything does have to be explained. I feel like it has to be explained just enough to get
Right.
your brain to kind of like move to be like, oh, it could be this, or it could be that, or it could be like this.
Mhm.
I feel like it was. I feel like aspects of like it being government and underground was enough because the government is always quiet. They always are doing something against like some type of human testing or something like that, and they do abandon things or like redact things and leave things in the lurch when they're done for the most part. Like that's to me, that's just government. If that's not the real government, which I still don't believe. I feel like it's the government we see in film enough to know that like, okay, this is what happens like in the film universe with the government. But for me, the ending, spoiler alert, if you ain't seen it,
run.
I thoroughly enjoy the ending because I really was like, I don't audibly yell at movies. I can contain myself. I mean, I kind of do that with like Marvel movies. I'm like, oh, like I'm doing stuff like that, but I don't audibly like really because I don't want to be like Regina Hall in Scary Movie when she was like, don't like, I can easily be that person. I can easily be that person and I don't want to be that person, but sometimes it escapes me. But I audibly yelled during this film. That's how I know I loved it. I audibly yelled. I was like, when she revealed the end and she's talking to her and she was like, you gave me dance and you did this. And then like I still didn't get it for a little bit. And then when the son looked at her in the car, I was like, shut the fuck up. That is not like I lost my mind.
Yeah.
That's too.
I lost my mind. I was like, because to me it still makes sense because like when she choked her, just because we didn't see her body, she choked her, and then all you saw her do was run out the door. But it was the other girl.
You assume, exactly. No, I love that whole thing.
You just assumed that it was her, and then you assumed that it was her because it was like, why isn't she talking? And you're thinking like, it's because she got choked in her throat.
She was traumatized.
Or dramatic event. Yeah.
Dramatic event. But then realizing the girl didn't know how to talk, so she had to be around him to learn how to talk. And then you realize that's the reason why Red has a sore throat or like her voice is like this because she got choked. I lost my mind. Like I'm losing it right now. Like I was just like,
and that goes to what you just said earlier too. Like you should have saw it, but like
I should have saw it.
No, totally. I was the same way. I was like, oh my god, like,
but that's Jordan's genius, or any good screenwriter's genius, is that you can't, no matter how hard you try,
even though it's like right in front of your face.
They put it there in such a way that it goes right past you.
Because you think about it, like, why was she like the chosen one? Why was she the one that could speak and nobody else could speak? It's because she's from our
exactly.
Up.
Yes.
You know, like you didn't even like it didn't even dawn on you that. And then like even in her speech, like I'm just going back over in my mind, she goes to like, I didn't get a choice in this. I didn't get a choice on who my husband was going to be. I didn't get a choice on like my kids or anything like that. So part of her don't even like Winston Duke's character, but because this one does, she had no choice but to get to say. So it was just like, yo, and then she was like, you gave me dance. I was just like, oh, it lost my mind. It was so good.
What's also interesting is like all of these individuals, if they would have been given an option to be able to get out of those tunnels, they would have been completely different individuals. Like they were because of their being bound down there and being tethered, they had no chance of developing themselves because because of the ending, we know that the character could turn around and be their own self. It's like this concept, and also the same thing is like the whole idea of the tethering was for whatever the entity that did this to keep people in subjection, that they couldn't get out of line, that they were tethered to something else, and if you think about it, like kind of like it's like staying in your lane, because what were they were stuck in the corridors of this area. And so they could never go beyond what those characters below them could go. So it was a form of oppression and keeping them in line. It's just like there's so many like different little like nuances to this thing that you can pull out of it.
Yeah, and it was just amazing. Okay, I still got to talk about it. It's just amazing because essentially, like Red didn't get the life that she was supposed to have, but her double lived a normal life, right? So like her double could have easily been what Red turned into, right? If she was stuck in that, I mean, because she was nuts. She choked the girl and then took her life. So she was already crazy, but then she slowly got domesticated because she's been afraid that this girl was going to find her this entire time. And again, Jordan Peele's genius, you thought that she was the original girl because you would be afraid if you saw like whatever she saw in that room freaked us all out because her face just got big and she just went nuts and she like sprinted out, but it wasn't the same girl. Spoiler alert, I love it so much. But it's just like she could have turned into, it's just like they literally were like two sides of the same coin. Like how what one does with one life and what one does with another one, like being switched, like it's so good. It's so good.
Well, then there's also the whole concept of like the tethered is like our darkness, our like all that stuff, and like the fear of like letting that out into the world, and trying to like keep that under wraps. And there's that whole metaphor, that I love about all that too. It's just our darker selves.
So are you saying she was living with her true self the entire time and other people weren't? Everybody else wasn't? Is that what you're kind of alluding to?
If you notice, she was more intuitive of things that like dangers that could happen. And like even like when the sun wandered off and there was that one like standing in the beach, like she was more in tune and she immediately knew something was wrong and went after him. So there was this concept of she had intuition, like even the point of where we were thinking that it was because of the trauma of as a child.
No,
of why she didn't want to go back to that beach.
She knows
she didn't want to get close there. She didn't. She knew it was there. She didn't want it to come back and haunt her. She wanted to keep everyone away. Tell me where you're going when you leave. Don't just wander off. Why? Because they could be swapped too.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah. Go back and watch the movie again.
Because she started the idea. She started the idea of like being switched, right? And then you pretty much empowered your other self to become what this was, to become who she was. Like she was lost at first. And then when she started dancing, which I'm kind of curious too. I will say one thing, like for some reason, these characters are extremely tethered, connected, because I don't think she wanted to go to that. It's like she didn't want to go to that fun house. It was like she was being led to the fun house somehow, right? Like it was just by happenstance. Because like if that's the case, did anyone else get led there? Like it is like because like so like it was already she was already kind of a smart tethered person.
She already had this concept in her head.
She had this concept in her head, like because she slowly led her there in some type of way. So that's why the other girl was like, I feel like she's somebody. She's always near me. She's always with me because like I think the girl like I'm feeling like is that underground infused with something so that like you can feel your tethered self or you can feel your tethered like your doppelganger. But what all the movie things said made me think about a Rick and Morty episode is that Rick and Morty episode where they try to shed their toxic selves. and their toxic selves are like, but it's always the perception of what you think your toxic self is, because Rick's toxic self, it was angry, but he also loved his grandson, and he saw that as like a weakness. It's toxic, but Morty's weakness was his kindness, his nerdiness. So if you go in the concept of like us and like toxicness, right? The original girl turned nuts. Was that always who she was? And was the other one always like devoted to family and just wanted to like be loved and things like that? Like just
nature versus nurture.
Nature versus nurture. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
It was. I thought it was just
See, I think
interesting.
it clearly says it's environment, not that it's how you're born. I think it clearly states that who you are is completely environment. At least that's what the movie's saying to me.
On another thing too, it's because so Red and her double represents also that like we can't keep our darker selves hidden for forever. We have to release that every once in a while, and like because she's a product of that. Like she was supposed to be like this darker version for forever, but she like was able to come out of it and live this happy life, and just goes, and like the real version of her became this darker version again. So it's like we have to like let that out, and not like push it down.
It's like the saying of like you can like all truth comes to the light, essentially.
Yeah.
You can't sweep like dirt under the rug long enough because it's gonna come out.
You have to face it, and like just work through it, and
This movie is so good.
There's just so much stuff.
I'm annoyed by how good it is, and that I'm
I hate how good this movie is.
I really do. I really want to talk to Jordan Peele and be like, listen, stop doing amazing work because I personally can't take it. So
if you could just stop having a good career and
I know, right? Relax, sir.
Stop having the masses enjoy your stuff.
Exactly.
No, I like it. Why don't we go ahead and move to ratings since we are about 5 minutes away from the end of the show. I would like to go in the same order that we did. So, Mr. Marmalade.
12-year-old me would have loved this film. I would have absolutely been enthralled with it. I love the concept. I mean, we go from the doppelgangers that are trying to come and kill their real selves and take over their places. Even to the corny of the Hands Across America thing, like that. Just like I'm sitting there, like what? Why are we watching this commercial for Hands Across America? Why is this necessary? And then at the end, you're just like, oh, that's hilarious. That's like the only thing this little girl, this little girl remembered from her childhood that could possibly help
thing from the 80s,
her being in the underworld or whatever, and cheesiness as it is. And it just left to like the open end of what could happen next. What's happening in this, and like you could just kind of go off and just kind of like spend your time like building your own headcanon. I've said that word a couple times tonight too.
Headcanon, but adjacent, right?
Adjacent headcanon.
Adjacent, yes. I think the only thing like it's like, could this all be in like the same world? Like, is this like within the same universe? Like, Get Out.
I was just thinking that. Yeah,
Nope,
like pay attention to Nope.
Like, be its own like little thing. Like,
well, if it is, it's before us. It happens absolutely before us does. So, because we would just have your standard run-of-the-mill brainwashing department going on.
The end of Nope, and then all these people in red jumpsuits like appear. Like that's how the end is. But it's like whatever happens. Like the film was fantastic. I love the cast of characters again. I give it a 10 as a 12-year-old. I think I'd be a little bit more like harsh on it, like as an adult, just kind of judging it. I'm gonna give this like a 9.7. Like it's a great film. I'm definitely gonna watch it again. I'm glad I have it in my collection. Jordan Peele is becoming one of my favorite writers and directors, hands down. And I just hope they don't ever try to get him to do an Avatar movie. At that point, we'll see what happens.
Honestly, I would love it if he did an Avatar movie. If he took over Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Well, we thought about that with M. Night Shyamalan, but
right.
I didn't think that about M. Night Shyamalan. I was disappointed when I saw that he was doing it. I was like, oh no.
Oh, he sold out.
I was never a fan of the cartoon, so that movie didn't bother me the way it bothered the rest of the world. So, neither here nor there. What throws me off is that Megan from Key and Peele has changed directions and is making these amazing films. Because whenever I still see Peele,
I don't think he changed directions. I think he's always wanted to do this.
No, I know, but what we've always seen,
genius.
what we saw before he
Yeah,
went and
I
became a
get that.
director, he was ridiculous. I mean, he most of every one of his characters on Key and Peele are way over the top.
Right.
The hype man.
But
I
he's a
always think
writer.
of. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hype man is
He
one of
is
my
like the
favorite
hype man,
characters.
bro.
He is. And it's just interesting because you would have thought, by charisma to some degree, that Keegan-Michael Key might have gone somewhere and his career's doing well, but it's still just kind of like he's here while Jordan has shot to the moon. It's just interesting to see.
He's great in Schmigadoon.
No, don't get me wrong. I
Give
love
the G
Keegan.
Schmigadoon.
I like Keegan. I do. And if you guys haven't seen Keanu, that's another fun, basically movie version
Yeah.
of Key and Peele. So I'm a big Key and Peele fan. Sorry.
Couldn't tell.
That said, I would have to say that this is a 7.5. I think everybody should watch it. I still struggle with putting things together and letting them go, if you will. Maybe I'll need a fourth viewing sometime in the future. But I think being that I watched this not that long ago and then watched it again for this, it wasn't long enough for me. So not a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination. It's good movie. I just don't think I'll rate it nearly as high as the rest of everyone on the panel. Black Girl Marvel.
I would just like to say that I think you rated that dangerous low. Like I said, we'll talk after the stream. Okay.
Yeah.
That with the comment about Last Airbender.
Yeah, that too, because that was what?
I'm fired.
Thank you, Mr. Marvelite. There's two things. Don't worry, guys. I'll figure out how to do this. We're still gonna go live under a new moniker. We're just gonna kick Snitty on out.
Sans Snidbits.
The real study. No, I'm saying.
The for real study.
Real study adjacent.
Exactly.
Drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They turn
Exactly.
into a drinking game on the chat.
Honestly, it should be a drinking game. Anywho, 12-year-old me probably would have enjoyed this because she watched The Omen growing up as a child, and I think I wasn't even 12 when I watched that. I was like single digits when I watched that. So I liked weird things. I didn't have supervision, obviously. I think 12-year-old me would have really liked it. 12-year-old me probably would have given this like a 10 or something like that. Like I'm pretty sure 12-year-old me would, because it was weird enough that even if I didn't understand the concepts and the subtlety of it, it was weird enough that I was like, because I probably would have focused on the kids a lot at 12, and I probably would have liked it a lot, Me now, I'll give this a solid 9.9. I love this film.
Mm-hmm.
It was so good. I love the realism in what you would do for your family if someone attacks your family, no matter how weird it is. I love that everybody found it within themselves to be like, yo, we're in a kill or be killed situation.
Yeah.
It's time to handle business, right? Because at first all they did was kind of run and do this. And after a while, you get frustrated. Everybody gotta die. Everybody gotta die, right? And it's just, I just love. Again, the ending is my favorite part. The realization that the little boy knows that's my mom, but that's not supposed to be my mom. Type of thing. He has that realization, and then to just see how smart that boy was, even though everybody thought he was dumb.
The backing up,
exactly.
Yeah. Him realizing that him and his doppel mirrored each other. When they're close to each other like that, and he was able, it's just smart little things like that. Also, Lupita in the maroon, hiding in the color of the car and snatching the boy was one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yep.
And she snatched
that
the
voice
boy.
too that she made. I mean,
listen. Okay. Story alert. Real quick. I'm gonna do this real quick. I know it's 12 o'clock. I'm gonna do this real quick. I was in my house after I think a couple of days after watching Us. I was in my house and I was watching TV or something like that, and I just happened to repeat something, and I was just like, it's crazy out. And I just started talking like that just for no reason, and I was like, oh, I really like this movie.
Just from
It's
doing
stuck
that.
with me.
Just from
Yeah.
doing that, because I was talking like her, and I was just like, I wonder if I could talk like her. She was just like, so what you need? Like, I was just talking like her, and I was like, I'm talented.
Plays
So,
with fire.
it's crazy. But like, I just love this film. I give it a 9.9. This is rewatchable for me. I don't say that about a lot of movies that we put on the stream. But this is like I said, I think my future is to work with not only behind the scenes but in front of the camera with Jordan Peele. I don't know why I'm latching on to him like this, but because I feel like it might be kismet.
Because he's great.
And he likes to say, no, he's great, and it's a lot of directors that I love, but I just feel a kinship to him in some way that I can't physically.
Because we need to get him on the show. We'll get him on the
We're
show, and then you'll be
Oh.
able to.
Me and Jordan are tethered. I really feel like we're tethered. But anyhow.
So you should be going around like, oh, let's make a good movie.
Let's
Yeah.
make a movie just us. Just
Where
You should hire me.
We should do a movie together. Yeah.
And he's like, you should probably stop smoking.
I can't do it. It has a hold on.
That's when he takes it. He goes like gets off camera.
Yeah. He's like that.
He's gonna think I'm crazy. It's like, can somebody take care of this woman? Like, she just.
With that, this has been episode 20 of season 1 of the Real
I'll give it a
Study.
9, by the way.
Oh!
I'll give it a
Wow.
9. By the
I
way.
did kind of run with it, but you're going to give it a
I'm
9.
sorry.
Tell us your final thoughts.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Final thoughts. It's just a great film. I liked it even more than Get Out. The script, like I mentioned, was not talking down to your audience. And I love all the metaphor in it. The ending too, just like Lala, I was like mind blowing. And also, there's another thing I just realized too, as Lala was talking, was about like the family basically is the metaphor for like, okay, eventually we have to face our darkness and take it head on. You know, we can't just keep running from this dark part of us. We have to like face it and deal with it. So, boom.
9.
Done.
Mic drop.
9.
I like it.
So we'll leave you with some ASMR.
Yeah, I was
This
hoping you did
has
that.
been the Real Study,
This has been the Real Study.
episode 20. Season 1.
20 adjacent.
20.
We are
Drink.
adjacent.
Episode
to the
20 of the Real
Everyone's-
Thank you for joining us, and we appreciate you, all our real students
And I'm
tethered
not-
to us.
We're
forever.
not drinking alcohol.
Forever.
That's the funny part. Like,
Yeah.
I know.
This is how we end the
Water all
show.
day.
We don't really
This
have
is
an ending.
ginger ale.
We just kind
There you
of
go.
trail off like a Mel Brooks production. That's kind of how we end our show.
Yeah.
And we're gonna raid. You'd never guess who we're gonna raid, but we raid him every week. Is the Raven Armed?
The Raven Armed.
You know, maybe one of these days somebody else will be on.
You know what I'm gonna do one day? I'm just gonna cut on my stream, and then you're gonna raid me, and then I'll just go play my game.
We should do that. We could do that, and it would boost
I
you.
will.
So, have a great week. We will see you guys next week. This has been the
Stay
Real
adjacent.
Study. Stay adjacent. Stay adjacent, students. Stay adjacent. Not that we even know what that means. All right, and we're gonna go in a
At
few
this point,
seconds.
we don't.
But that's okay.
Honestly, anything that we say on here and people like in the comments it gets repeated, we should make merch out of it. So there should be adjacent. There should be
Real
adjacent-
Study adjacent.
Adjacent
The
stickers.
adjacent squad.
Yeah.
Should they
Yeah.
be stickers that are like with a thing that is
Off center?
adjacent to? Yeah, so like the sticker would have a thing, and then off the side it'll say adjacent.
Adjacent.
Yes.
I think that's too meta though. I don't think some people would get that.
Yeah.
Like the shirt, like
Only-
it should be like a Real Study on the shirt, and then like off to the side, like lower back, it says adjacent.
Say adjacent.
Like that would be cool.
Or like underneath here, like underneath this part, say like adjacent or something.
What about on the
Where you
flip
can
side?
still
If you
kind of-
turn the shirt on the inside, it would say adjacent.
On the flip side, see you all on the flip side. That would be.
Ooh, yeah. I still want a shirt
We
that
should have.
says
We should have
block,
shirts.
or no, block plus. What was it? I can't even think of it now because we're sitting here under pressure. But no, it's basically the way I treat trolls. I want it to be like troll equals block plus delete. That's the shirt I want.
Oh,
We should
I
get
like
shirts where like you flip it over like the ninja shirts, but it have our faces on them.
Ooh. But like, yeah,
Ooh.
we're like a hoodie. Anyway, we're about to raid, and it's not going to be up to us if we don't do it. Here we go. Have a great night, all.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.
Stay tethered.
Oh my goodness.
Honestly, I want a tethered shirt now. I'm making a shirt.